Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and welcome to this video on why you can do much better landings in Flight Simulator 2024 in your favorite airliner than in Flight Simulator 2020. Let's get right into it, because there is a lot to explore over here. Now, I'm sure many of you have already seen my other videos on how to do good landings. You will notice that they have typically been focused around flying a stable approach, being stable at the gate, then crossing the threshold at the correct altitude, and then flaring at the correct altitude and flying the aircraft consciously on the runway. I'm sure you remember all of those by now. However, there is one huge problem, or rather there used to be one huge problem, which I pointed out in a video about my favorite issue of Flight Simulator 2020, which was the fact that ILS approaches and even puppies were usually misaligned with the runways. And that is no longer, at least not to the same extent, true in Flight Simulator 2024. On the very first initial versions of the new simulator, it used to be a problem. I'm sure you will remember my video approaching Munich in the 747, where despite being on the localizer, we were basically aligned with the main taxiway adjacent to the runway. However, in one of the first two quick updates that Flight Simulator 2024 has seen, that has been reworked, and by now you see more and more videos of myself coming out where I say like, hey, I could do a superb landing over here just because the ILS was aligned correctly. And this is what we want to focus on in today's video. We're currently on approach to runway 25 left in Frankfurt. We're gonna fly this one completely manual with a little bit of crosswind to spice things up and make them interesting. Now, runway 25 left in Frankfurt is one of those runways that is a perfect example of how the new system works. We will come in just about in a perfect spot over the runway, cross the threshold exactly at 50 feet, and you will notice how there is still enough time to perfectly flare the aircraft and then bring it down onto the ground. That brings a lot of consistency into your flying and makes it much easier to achieve perfect landings time and time again. Remember, it's always the key to just be prepared and be able to reproduce things time and time again, rather than to have to reinvent the wheel every time you fly. And that's especially true on ILS approaches, or respectively approaches with large commercial transport aircraft, time and time again. Now, of course, as airline pilots, we do train for that, we do practice approaches out of different positions, but something we do not practice and something that we simply do not do is flying your approaches all the time from different angles and different threshold crossing altitudes, because that would outright be dangerous, as those approaches are normed, and we really, and with that I mean really, try to reproduce that every single time. Now, especially for someone in flight simulation who does not have all those hours of training and all those hundreds, thousands of bucks used into their training, it is very important that you achieve consistent approaches in order to be able to practice your landings and get them right as good as possible. Now, for the very same reason, I do recommend to start flying and practicing with a study level aircraft. That's simply, it is not the bugs of the simulator that are causing you to do something wrong. You really see the result of your actual actions. And the very same applies over here. So now let's quickly go over the correct technique again as we are nearing our touchdown. You can see we are remaining a stable approach over here. I barely do control inputs, even though we have almost 30 knots of crosswind over here. I do only small thrust changes in order to keep the speed close to the approach speed target. Now, we will remain on the glide slope and cross the threshold at 50 feet, and then you will notice that when the ILS is correctly aligned with the runway, you will have quite some space available to actually flare the aircraft. Something that typically wasn't available in Flight Simulator 2020, which either led to long landings or to hard landings. But Take a look at how that has changed in Flight Simulator 2024 now. And this is not just because of this single airport, but this is actually the case in many airports. Not all of them, unfortunately, but the data set has gotten quite a bit better. Now finally, since we are coming in for a crosswind landing, we are going to decrab the aircraft just about in the flare, and then just fly it down onto the runway. The aiming point is, well, our aiming point, and that is the two large markers you see coming up in the touchdown zone over there. Okay, so let's see how that is gonna go. We are pretty much exactly on the glide slope, which also puts us exactly onto the poppies, and you can see how we would end up just about in front of the aiming point now. So, flare, decrab, and right onto the marker. And that's exactly how we do this. Alright, spoilers, reverse, green, and decel. Well, my friends, and that is the entire secret. I hope you found that one interesting. Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and I'm very much looking forward to your feedback on this one. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and let me know if you have been experiencing consistent better landings in FS 2024 than you had in FS 2020. Thank you so much for watching. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.